How are you, my friends? Today we have a beautiful and exciting story with many adventures. I invite you to watch it, and I hope you enjoy watching it.
Little Aunt Nara, deep in an anthill, where the smell of damp soil and rotting leaves prevailed, lived a little ant named Nara. Nara was very curious and loved to explore the world around her. One day, while collecting seeds to feed the young of the colony, she came across a strange, shiny seed. The seed was smaller than the head of a pin, but it shone with a bright blue glow. Nara took the seed to the sage, a wise old ant who lived in the oldest part of the nest. The sage looked at the seed carefully, then shook her head and said, "This seed is not ordinary, Nara. It holds great power within it, but it also carries great dangers." Nara did not understand what the sage meant, but she decided to keep the seed. At night, she would hide in a safe place and play with the seed, imagining that it was magical and gave her supernatural powers. But she soon discovered that the seed was not hers alone. There was an evil ant named Zara, who was bigger and stronger than Nara, and wanted this seed for herself. One dark night, Zara stole the seed from Nara. Nara felt very angry and sad. Nara decided not to give up. She started a long and arduous journey to find the seed. She walked through forests and meadows, climbed mountains, and crossed rivers. On the way, she met many other insects, some friendly and some hostile. In a dark cave, Nara found an ancient map carved on a stone. The map was full of strange symbols, but she was sure that it would guide her to the location of the seed. After a long and arduous journey, Nara was able to decipher the map and find the seed. Little Aunt Nara, the seed, was hidden in a secret place, guarded by Zara and her soldiers. A fierce battle took place between Nara and Zara. Nara used her wits and courage to defeat Zara and retrieve the seed. Nara returned to her colony, carrying the seed. All the ants were eagerly awaiting her. When they saw her, they erupted in cheers and joy. Nara used the seed to heal the sick and build new homes for the colony. Nara became a heroine, leading her people into a new era of prosperity and wealth. Nara lived a long and happy life, telling her grandchildren about her exciting adventures. She discovered a magic seed that changed her life and the life of her entire colony. Nara was wandering through the grain fields in search of new seeds for the colony. Her eyes fell on something shiny, sparkling among the green leaves. It was a small seed, barely visible to the naked eye, but it shone with a strange blue glow. Nara leaned over to it and stretched out her antennae to touch it. She felt a slight prick in her heart, as if this pill held a great secret. Nara carried the pill to the sage, an old ant known for her wisdom and vast knowledge. The sage was sitting in a dark room, surrounded by old paper books. She looked at the pill carefully, then shook her head, saying, "This pill is not ordinary, Nara. It holds magical power within it, but it also carries great dangers." One dark night, while Nara was sleeping, an evil ant named Zara crept into the pill's hiding place. Zara was big and strong, and her eyes shone with malice. She stole the pill from Nara and fled to her secret hiding place. Little Aunt Nara felt hopeless and sad, but she decided not to give up. She went to the sage and asked for her help. The sage told Nara, "To find the seed, you must travel to the other side of the forest where the sage of insects lives." Nara traveled to the other side of the forest, and her journey was full of dangers. She encountered hostile ants, crossed torrential rivers, and climbed high mountains. On her way, she met a wise insect named Susan, an ancient beetle who had lived in the forest for many years. Susan helped Nara on her journey and gave her an old map that showed the location of the seed. Nara reached Zara's hideout. The battle was fierce, but Nara was determined to retrieve the seed. She used her wits and courage to defeat Zara and her soldiers. Nara returned to her colony, carrying the seed. All the ants were eagerly waiting for her. When they saw her, they burst into cheers and joy. Nara used the bead to build a new, stronger, and more prosperous colony. Nara became the queen of the ants, ruling wisely and bravely. The ants lived in peace and prosperity under her rule. Nara returned to the sage with the magic bead. The sage was very happy to see Nara safe and sound with the bead. She told Nara that the bead contained a magical power that could be used to make the colony more powerful and prosperous. But she also warned her that this power must be used wisely, or it could cause a lot of destruction. Nara stood in front of the colony, holding the bead in her claws. She felt a great responsibility on her shoulders. Should she use the bead's power to build a strong colony, or hide it for fear that it would fall into the wrong hands? After much thought, Nara decided to use the bead to build a strong colony, but she would be very careful with how she used its power. Little Ant Nara using the power of the seed, Nara began to build a new colony. The colony was more powerful and beautiful than any other colony in the area. Nara built huge palaces, dug long tunnels, and decorated the colony with the most beautiful flowers. Nara's success made the other ants jealous and envious. Some ants began to plot against her and tried to steal the seed from her. But Nara was very careful and did not allow anyone to get close to the seed. A new threat appeared to the colony. There was an army of red ants, larger and stronger than Nara's ants, planning to invade her colony. Nara knew that this was the true test of her strength. Nara gathered her army of brave ants and prepared to defend her colony. The ants trained hard and learned new strategies for fighting. A fierce battle took place between Nara's ants and the red ants. The battle was long and arduous, but Nara and her allies managed to achieve victory. After the war ended, Nara became the queen of all the ants in the region. She ruled wisely and justly and built good relations with the other ants. The ants lived in peace and prosperity under her rule. After things settled down in her new kingdom, Nara began to sense some unrest on the northern borders of her kingdom. Another, stronger and more aggressive ant colony was planning to invade her territory. This colony was famous for its huge soldiers and immense physical strength. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Nara began to prepare to defend her kingdom. She summoned the ant elders and strategists, and together they discussed the best ways to confront this threat. They decided to build a strong defensive wall around their kingdom and dig deep trenches to hinder the enemy's advance. Little Ant Nara sent a group of spy ants to the enemy camp to gather information about them. They discovered that the enemy was planning a surprise attack at night, and that they had secret weapons that Nara had never seen before. When the time came for the attack, Nara and her soldiers were ready. A fierce battle broke out between the two sides. Nara used her wisdom and magical power to guide her soldiers, while the enemy used their physical strength and weapons. The battle was even, but in the end, Nara and her soldiers were able to achieve victory. After the war was over, Nara suggested to the red ants that they cooperate instead of fighting. She convinced them that unity is stronger than division, and that working together would lead to everyone's prosperity. The red ants agreed to her suggestion, and they began to build friendly relations with each other. While exploring her new lands, Nara discovered a secret cave filled with treasures. There were shining gems, strange crops, and even an ancient map pointing to a distant land. Nara decided to explore the distant land that the map pointed to. Gathering a group of her dearest friends, she embarked on a long and arduous journey. Along the way, she faced many challenges and dangers, but she was able to overcome them all thanks to her courage and wisdom. On her journey to a distant land, Nara discovered a secret cave filled with treasures. There were shining gems, strange crops, and even an ancient map pointing to a distant land. Inside the cave, Nara met a wise old insect who lived in isolation. The wise woman told her about the history of the cave and its magical powers. Little Aunt Nara, but unfortunately, the cave was not empty. There was a fierce guardian protecting the treasures, a giant scorpion with deadly poison. A fierce battle took place between Nara and the scorpion, and in the end, Nara was able to defeat it with her intelligence and courage. Nara continued her journey, following the map she found in the cave. She arrived in a distant and strange land, where strange insects lived that she had never seen before. There were giant flying ants, glowing caterpillars, and even giant butterflies with bright colors. In the distant land, Nara met a small butterfly named Lila. Lila had the ability to speak different languages and helped Nara communicate with other insects. Lila became Nara's best friend, accompanying her on all her adventures. At the end of her journey, Nara faced one last challenge. An evil wizard was controlling the distant land, and he planned to use the powers of the magic bean for evil purposes. A decisive battle took place between Nara and the wizard, and in the end, Nara was able to defeat him and preserve peace in the distant land. Nara returned to her homeland with a wealth of experience and knowledge. She used what she learned to build a stronger and more prosperous kingdom. Nara became a symbol of courage and wisdom, and ruled her kingdom with wisdom and justice. One day, while exploring the kingdom, Nara discovered a small entrance hidden under a large rock. It was a very narrow opening, but she was very curious to see what was behind it. After repeated attempts, she was able to crawl inside the narrow opening. Nara found herself in a dark and magical underground world. There were long tunnels and narrow passages, and walls lit by glowing stones. She could hear strange sounds and a faint hissing. She soon discovered that she had entered an underground world inhabited by an ancient insect civilization. Little Aunt Nara met the elders of this civilization, a group of giant ants with vast wisdom and knowledge. They told her that they had been living underground for thousands of years, and that they possessed priceless treasures and knowledge. To prove that Nara was worthy of their trust, the elders asked her to undergo a difficult test. She had to go through a dark labyrinth full of dangers and find a lost artifact. After a long and arduous adventure, Nara was able to find the lost artifact. The artifact was a magic stone that granted its owner supernatural powers. As a reward, the elders gave her the magic stone. They told her that this stone would help her protect her kingdom and the entire insect world. Nara returned to her outer world, carrying with her the magic stone and new knowledge. She used the stone to protect her kingdom from dangers, and to unite all the insects of the world under the banner of peace and cooperation. After returning from the underground world, Nara continued to rule her kingdom wisely. But it wasn't long before she faced a new threat. She discovered that an evil force was destabilizing the underground world. A group of rebel ants were trying to take over and destroy the ancient civilization. Feeling responsible for her friends in the underground world, Nara decided to return to help them. She used the magic stone to open a portal back to the dark world. A fierce battle broke out between Nara and her small army and the rebel ants. Nara used the magic stone to channel her powers and was able to defeat the rebels. After the victory, Nara helped the ancient civilization rebuild itself. She taught them new methods of agriculture and built more advanced cities. She became a symbol of hope and unity among all insects. While in the underground world, Nara discovered that the magic stone had the ability to communicate with all living things. She decided to use this power to unite all the insects in the world and to create a global community of peace and cooperation. While exploring the underground world, Nara discovered a huge library filled with ancient books and scrolls. These books were written in an ancient language and contained secrets about the history of the world and the evolution of insects. Nara spent a long time studying these books, gaining extensive knowledge of their world. Little Ant Nara. Deep in an underground world, Nara found a magical garden filled with glowing plants and flowers. These plants produced a magical nectar that gave those who drank its supernatural powers. But to obtain this nectar, she had to solve a complex puzzle. Nara discovered an ancient temple dedicated to worship. The temple was filled with statues and carvings depicting the lives of ancient ants. At the heart of the temple, she found a golden crown studded with precious stones. This crown gave the wearer the power to control all insects. Nara discovered that there was an ancient war between underground civilizations. This war was over resources and power. Nara decided to use her knowledge and wisdom to end this war and bring peace. After successfully uniting the underground civilizations, Nara founded the Insect Union. This union became a superpower that protected all insects in the world and worked to develop cooperation and understanding among all living beings. After successfully uniting the underground civilizations, Nara decided to hold a global insect conference. Representatives from all insect kingdoms were invited to attend this conference, with the aim of discussing ways to achieve peace and cooperation among all living beings. At the end of the conference, a World Peace Charter was declared. This charter stipulated respect for the rights of all living beings, cooperation of all countries in protecting the environment, and the exchange of knowledge and technology. All insects agreed to this charter, and a new era of peace and prosperity began. After signing the Peace Charter, insects began to work together to protect the environment. They planted forests, cleaned the oceans, and protected endangered species. The Earth became a more beautiful and peaceful place. Underground civilizations began to develop and advance rapidly. Insects used the technology and knowledge they acquired to build more advanced cities and invent new means of transportation and communication. After many years, the insect world became an ideal place. Wars and conflicts disappeared, and peace and prosperity prevailed everywhere. Nara became a symbol of peace and wisdom, and all insects remembered her with gratitude and admiration. Thoughtful questions. What lessons have we learned from Nara's story? How can we apply these lessons to our daily lives? Why is it important to protect the environment? How can we build a more peaceful and cooperative world?
I hope you liked the story and enjoyed watching it. Sweet dreams and good night. Wait for us. We have more exciting and enjoyable stories.